Hi there, Kole. You're right. In fact, we are currently at Link location here in Mthatha, and you can see we're very close, in fact, to the Mthatha Dam. This is another section of the Mthatha Dam. There's a whole lot of teams that are here from the police and also Gift of the Givers and other volunteers that are actually in this particular location. They were told that there were 3 bodies that were spotted in the dam, and now what they're trying to do is try and see if they can go and search for those bodies. But here's what's interesting. The person that had in fact alerted them about these 3 bodies is actually not answering his phone. We're told it was a fisherman, but one of the things that we've heard some of the officials saying that they're likely to do is just to do a walk about and see for themselves if they can't actually spot the bodies here. There were 3 bodies, Kole, that have been found at the Mthatha Dam since my arrival here on Saturday, and one of the bodies was found, 3 of those bodies in fact were found very next to each other in the dam, but on different days. A 4th body was found on the other side of the Mthatha Dam, in fact, behind the wall of the Mthatha Dam. It was covered in a debris under a mattress. That's when the rescuers were able to see that body. And of course, authorities in the Eastern Cape issuing a statement this afternoon confirming that 90 people have since died here in the province as a result of those floods. Yesterday, Kolu, we saw a body of a child being pulled out from the debris. It was in the bushes. In fact, it was found by local residents who were busy searching for their loved ones, and then they alerted authorities about that body of a child that was then taken to the state mortuary. In the statement that was released by the Eastern Cape government early this afternoon, saying that 80 of those bodies have been positively identified by their loved ones, and of course also saying there's about over 2,600 people in the province that have been affected by the floods. And we know, though, Kole, that the majority of those people are actually here in the Mthatha area, in the King Sabatha municipality. Kole?
And this is part of the reason, Malungelo, the community is urging government to release yet more resources, particularly in the search and recovery efforts. Yes. Are you able to tell just how many families are missing loved ones? Is it still a sizable number, or that number is now shrinking by the day?
It's quite interesting, Kole, you ask that question, because first, if you ask authorities, right, as to how many people they're looking for that are unaccounted for, they can't say the number of the people that are still missing. But that on its own then is actually quite telling. It tells you about the extent of the devastation. But as you move around communities, and also you as I joined some of these searches, I bump into people saying that they're still looking for their loved ones. In fact, yesterday I bumped into about 4 people that were still looking for their relatives, and today there are about 3 people that are interacted with saying that they were still looking for their relatives. And remember, Kole, in some of the people or some of the families are not only looking for one individual that's missing, right? In some instances, it's 2 people and even 3 people and even more. That's why then authorities cannot say how many people are actually still unaccounted for. But they've also urged people, right, to come forward and report their missing relatives, so that they can be able at least to have the number down of how many people they're looking for. But here's the challenge, Oli, also what these rescuers are actually encountering. Right, when they move around searching the Mthatha River, right, the Mthatha River, Oli, is actually quite vast, right? It's about 250 kilometers long, right? It stretches and it meanders around many families. In fact, it feeds into the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean from where we are, is at Coffee Bay, which is about an hour or so from where we are. But what we've been seeing is that authorities have concentrated mainly their search and recovery efforts around Mthatha, around the river banks in the communities here in Mthatha, and searching the debris. But also we're told that the mud within the river, in the river itself, it's so high, it could hit, you could actually get stuck, and it's about 30 meters deep, and that's dangerous on its own. But also the water is actually quite murky. And one of the things people were saying, that as the water recedes, they're hoping that more bodies will actually come up into surface. Colin?
Malungelo Booi, thank you very much for that update, and relating, of course, what is the search and recovery efforts down in the Mthatha area. Thank you very much for the time being, Malungelo Booi.